All right, as promised, let's talk about the ears in much more depth than we have before. And let's begin by looking at the placement of the ear first. So in its most simplistic form, you want to look at the ear in this kind of curvy side, straight side, and you want to notice, where should I place this in context to the whole head shape? So one thing you want to be aware of is that on a level head, the top of the ear tracks with the brow, the bottom of the ear tracks with the base of the nose. And so then your first job is to see, where does this shape sit within the width of the head? Is there a space in between the back of the ear and the back of the head? How big is this space in comparison to the front space? Or is that ear shape even sticking out beyond the edge of the head? So as the head will track this way or turn this way, this gap will become bigger and bigger, and this ear will shift more and more towards the front. So that's one thing to look at. If you have a frontal point of view of the model, the ears will stick out beyond the head's shape, and they'll be a little bit further out on the top than they will be at the bottom. So there's a little bit of an angle going on, and that's because ears are basically sound funnels, and the sound funnel works better if it's wider out on the top. So as soon as the model's head is shifting from a neutral to a pose where they're sticking out or tucking in their chin, these alignments aren't straight anymore. Instead, what you want to think about is this idea, let's start here, this idea that there is this imaginary central axis going through the head, and we then wrap these imaginary rubber bands around the central axis. And these imaginary rubber bands, the only rule that they follow is that they're perpendicular to the central axis. And so notice now, my brow rubber band still tracks with the top of the ear. My base of the nose rubber band still tracks with the bottom of the ear. And if the chin is being tucked under, the brow rubber band that snaps around this axis tracks with the top, base of the nose, bottom of the ear. So that's how you, first of all, place your ear into the context of the head. Next, let's look into the individual parts of the ear. So we have, as I already said, this kind of curvy shape that has a straighter side to it where it attaches to the head. So if you can super simplify it, curvy, kind of like a question mark, we call this part the helix. And then inside the ear, we have this kind of curvy Y shape right here called the antihelix. The other parts you want to be aware of are this little tab that covers up your ear canal. It's called the tragus. On the other side is another little bump called the antitragus, and in between the two you have this little notch-like thing, and below it sits your earlobe. So you kind of want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that you will want to account for in your drawing. As you begin breaking that shape down, think about it like this. Here's where it's attaching to the head. You find that flatter edge, curl down that longer rhythm. So this here comes down, and then you want to think about this other rhythm coming up. So in another simplistic way, you have that kind of flat and curvy shape, and inside of it, you have this rim feeding into this edge. So this here, if we simplify that, this here feeds into that here. So that's what I would seek out very lightly first. let's talk about the different angles, or the ear shapes from different angles, let's say it that way. So from a side view, here's where the ear attaches. We already talked about this, kind of rounded on top, then it funnels towards the ear, attaches. From a 3/4 point of view, what we want to translate is that, how to say this, that there's a plane that's facing us, and then there's this plane that's facing to the side of the room. And we need this line here. This is a plane change, right? This plane is facing towards us. This plane, that broader plane from the ears, facing away from us. So that's what we want to think about, finding this plane change. And then from the back view, we really see that funnel idea. We have this portion, it's called the concha, and then we have that portion. So there are two portions that we see from the back that aren't so visible from the front view. So one funnel, and then this is almost like an S shape, like a curly, curvy S shape that then curls in on itself. So this segment here used to be that segment, but we see it from a different angle now, so it's visually squished, visually foreshortened.